You're listening to your brain on air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy. Počúvate svoj mozog na vzduchu. Program začne čoskoro. Užite si.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Your Brain on Air. I am your host, Ollie Vogt Larson. And I'm just going to ask the question, folks, who else is sick of this cancel culture? Do you hear me, folks? Who else wants to restore the careers of the innocent, all Louis C.K. style? Who else wants to get Ghislaine Maxwell out of prison? Folks, free Ghislaine. I've been willing to die on this hill. I think that a lot of you are too. We have been beating this drums ever since they said Epstein trafficked to no one. They said he had no co-conspirators. Listen, folks, I've been on this for years, quite frankly. We have video footage of CERN employees. CERN is where they have the particle accelerator, all that junk. We have footage of a group of men in front of the Shiva statue staging a human sacrifice. Scientists are killing people in front of a Hindu goddess statue. And for some reason, we have to put this poor British lady in jail while those murderers are roaming free. Enough, folks. Let's stop pretending that we live in a nation of laws that are equally applied. Do you know why those scientists are allowed to kill people for their particle accelerator trying to recreate the Big Bang? It's because they're men. I'm just going to say it, folks. Sexism is real. Sexism is out there. And you know how we can battle it? By supporting Ghislaine in her new trial. Let's hear it.
Co-conspirator of late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine
Alleged co-conspirator. My client will not be misinterpreted.
Maxwell is once again fighting for her release from prison. Maxwell is trying to get a federal judge to vacate her sex trafficking conviction. She submitted her request to federal prosecutors in New York earlier this month. Maxwell previously argued unsuccessfully that her conviction and 20-year sentence should be tossed because she did not get a fair trial.
I agree. She is suffering for the crimes committed by a man. This is sexism. And quite frankly, to punish her for his crimes, folks, that's hatred of women. I don't know what else to say, but I think that we need to remedy this. We need to fix it. We need to, quite frankly, free Ghislaine, ladies and gentlemen. We need to hop on this. If you'd like to join the what's it called? What is the thing where you have to sign you have to get a bunch of signatures in order for the president to respond? Change.org. We'll start a change.org about this. Folks, let's move on to our first story. It's a juicy one. It's the most interesting thing that is happening in the news right now currently. D4VD. I still don't know how to read his name. David Burke. His cell phone allegedly, not allegedly, this is according to the investigators and what they found. I don't have to use allegedly now because I'm not talking about Ghislaine Maxwell because she doesn't deserve to be mislabeled as anything that she apparently may or may not be. But David, his cell phone, from what we know, contained a significant amount of child pornography, or as the non-brave influencers and social media people would say, CP. Yeah, exactly. Just knock it off. I don't care. The algorithm can hide my video because I say a naughty word. I don't give a fuck. It's the truth. It's the facts of the case. And if news networks can get away with saying it, then I can too. So what we're hearing from LA County prosecutors is that the legal case against the 21-year-old is growing even bigger. It's gotten even darker. On yesterday, they revealed an interesting turn as they revealed the discovery of a significant amount of child pornography on the artist's cell phone. Let's get into it. Go. During a procedural hearing, Deputy District Attorney Beth Silverman, I like that name, Beth, told the court that investigators have recovered more than 40 terabytes of digital evidence from the singer's iPhone and iCloud accounts. The illegal material was reportedly uncovered during the execution of search warrants related to the ongoing murder investigation of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. The announcement came on April 23rd, exactly 1 year to the day that authorities believe the young girl was killed. Prosecutors allege that David Burke, known professionally as D4VD, was engaged in an illegal sexual relationship with the victim that began when she was just 13 13. Fuck. According to the district attorney's office, Burke, I'm just going to call him David, murdered the teenager to prevent her from exposing the relationship and devastating his rising music career. Listen, motive-wise, I've seen my fair share of forensic files. I've seen plenty of murder shows. I used to fall asleep to that shit when I was a kid. I would be in casinos that were rented out, you know what I mean? And I would be sleeping in one of the beds, and I'd fall asleep to the smell of cigarettes on all of the clothes, and just this narrator going like, and he left his fingerprints on the door. Her dismembered remains were discovered months later, hidden in 2 bags inside the front trunk of the Tesla registered to the singer. In addition to the new digital evidence, an unsealed autopsy report has provided gruesome details of the victim's final moments. Allegedly, she may have gotten her finger amputated. I'm hearing conflicting sources on this. The tattooed finger that has had David's name on it, allegedly he might have cut that off. The Los Angeles County medical examiner confirmed that Hernandez suffered fatal stab wounds to her chest and abdomen before her body was dismembered. Prosecutors have filed special circumstance allegations against David, including lying in wait and murder of a witness, which could make the singer eligible for a death penalty if convicted. It's California. So when it comes to whether or not we're going to see a death penalty conviction, maybe if we were in Florida, then we could see that. Like, I don't, that's just me making my analyses. Despite the mounting evidence, David's legal team continues to maintain his innocence, obviously, insisting that the actual evidence will prove that he was not the cause of the girl's death. In a rare move, the defense has exercised David's right to a speedy preliminary hearing, forcing prosecutors to lay out their evidence publicly much earlier than usual. That's curious. Listen, I'm all in favor of giving TMZ the most stuff to talk about with this case. The hearing is now set to begin Wednesday, April 29th, where a judge is set to determine if there will be a sufficient probable cause for the singer to stand trial for capital murder. Listen, I still will maintain my prediction that maybe we're going to see an OJ level escape here. Maybe. I'm not saying that, listen, I've listened to some of his music. I'm not saying that he's talented enough to pull that. But then again, I didn't think that Winona Ryder was big enough an actress to get away with the thievery that she was up to. But then again, she redefined her legacy. She's not known as a grabby bitch anymore. You know what I mean? She's now in Beetlejuice, the sequel. You know what I mean? So I think she gets her thrill more so from being in things that are of lesser quality, but still make her money, like Stranger Things Season 5.
Story number 2. A hearing just wrapped up for singer David in his first-degree murder case.
The prosecution revealed details about disturbing digital evidence. Let's get to CBS LA's Rick Montanez with what we learned in court today. Rick, what are you hearing?
Amy, Chris, the hearing just wrapped up within the half hour here, and cameras were not allowed in court, but I can tell you that the defendant, David Burke, was in court today in shackles and wearing that orange jumpsuit. The biggest new piece of evidence revealed, prosecutors say a significant amount of child porn found on Burke's cell phone. We also want to point out that this all happens one day after the medical examiner's report became public. That is the report on the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. The report says, or I should say the family of Rivas Hernandez is absolutely devastated to learn the gruesome details contained in that write-up. That's according to a family statement. So this report says the 14-year-old girl died of sharp force trauma, but the autopsy was difficult because of the severe decomposition of her dismembered body when it was found in the singer's abandoned Tesla last September. Officials say
what the trouble is with his defense, and listen, I'm not saying whether he's guilty or not. He definitely is. But what I'm trying to get across here is his look in court is not helping him when he's this kind of glossy-eyed fucking, you know, he looks like some just fucking scummy loser pulled off the streets of Chicago. And Chicago, you know exactly what I mean when I say that. You know what I mean? He looks like he idolizes people on basketball cards. He looks like he goes and gets chopped cheese. He looks like he looks like he's familiar with government cheese. You know what I mean? He looks just like this fucking little hoodlum. And, you know, he's a fun character. I think he should get a haircut. If he really wants to gain sympathy in this trial, he can't be showing up looking like some fucking Malouk.
Died 5 months earlier in April of last year. Burke, the suspect known by his stage name David, was arrested last Thursday. On Monday, he pled not guilty to the capital murder charges. We spoke with a former federal prosecutor just a short time ago here on CBS LA Mornings about this new evidence revealed in today's hearing and the fact that David's phone, according to prosecutors, contains child porn.
And obviously,
what a
we
turn.
don't know if it's Celeste Rivas's images and videos or something else, but that
Celeste
is
Rivas
a
says
significant offense. Obviously, it helps prosecutors prove the sex crimes, the lewd and lascivious, Penal Code Section 288, but it's also a separate crime in and of itself, and it's certainly the possibility that the feds even step into this case because they typically will prosecute these types of child pornography cases.
And we also learned from prosecutors that there is a large amount of digital data that needs to be processed and shared as evidence with the defense. So there is a lot that will happen as this case moves forward. But it will be back in court. Both sides will be back in court on April 29th next week so they can get an update on where they stand with evidence, whether they need more time to prepare for a potential
You need more time?
capital murder
Really?
trial. Also worth noting, today's date, April 23rd, it marks the 1 year since Celeste Rivas Hernandez was last seen alive. Reporting live in downtown Los Angeles, Rick Montanez, CBS LA.
Bing bong.
Details of this case become more and more disturbing. Okay, Rick, thank you.
Well, okay. According
back to
to according to this News Nation thing that we're going to look at here, David allegedly had a relationship with another minor, according to a private investigator. So these details are shoddy. When it comes to dependability, we're looking at somebody who maybe has seen background details, has seen a couple of things that maybe some other people haven't because maybe he knows the right people to ask. But missing persons private investigator Steve Fisher, maybe he has a good reputation, I don't know. And trial attorney Mark, okay, let me try with this last name, bear with me. Mark Geragos, Geragos. They join here to disclose the latest details here, where it's where the state says child pornography was found on the artist's phone. I like mixed all those words together, and apparently he may have had a relationship with another minor. What do we got?
Information, because I understand you allegedly have proof that David was allegedly involved with other minors.
Yeah, and I've brought that up before. So this wasn't a big surprise when, Beth said the word child porn 3 or 4 times today. And she was really, I agree with Mark, there's a lot of posturing going on here. And she was really trying to get that out there. But I have another minor that I've been in touch with for months and sent me photographic evidence.
Nah, bad way to say it. I have another minor that I've been in touch with for months. That sounds, stop.
Her and David at the rental house, and which was an illegal relationship.
Do you know if that's part of the case or going to be part of the case?
I don't know. They've been turned. I can tell you that.
I don't know. I'm just gonna have to stay in touch with this minor for a couple more months. That's always his excuse.
Turned over to law enforcement.
I'm
She's talked to law
joshing.
enforcement. I don't know if that's part of the case or not. They are going to be very protective of the imagery. They made that clear.
Steve, by the way, are people coming forward?
Jesse, let me just...
Well, Mark, just stand by for 1 second. Mark, just
Oh
stand
my
by for 1
God.
second. I just want to follow up one thing with Steve here. Are people coming forward to you, Steve, with more information about David since he's been arrested and charged?
Yes, there is. There have been, and a couple of people had indicated to me that they would have something to say if he was arrested. They were nervous about him and people in his orbit, and they're more comfortable now. They still don't want to go public, but they're willing to talk to law enforcement.
They're coming to you, and then you're delivering that information to law enforcement, or they're speaking to you and law enforcement?
I'm connecting them in certain cases. Yeah.
Well, if something comes of it, we'll keep you posted on it. Otherwise, we should move on to our next story, because David, he's, we can be the court of public opinion, and we will break it down as we get more details. Personally, am I surprised that they would find child pornography on the phone of someone who is in their 20s, who allegedly murdered, dismembered, put in the back of his car a 14-year-old that he was having sex with and a relationship since she was 13. Am I inherently shocked at the allegation that someone who's already been accused of that would have child pornography on their phone? Absolute, like, what? What is the question here? This is, like, obvious. Like, yeah, great. I'm glad we have clarification. 40 terabytes. That's going to take a while to sort through. So, the David files have a while before we get a release date. We're probably going to get them before GTA 6 still, though. Let's move on to our second story. Meta. You know what I mean? Not the thing that is like, oh, you're referencing a TV show and you are on said TV. Not that thing. The gay thing where it's Mark Zuckerberg, and it used to be called Facebook, and that was the name of the corporation. It was also the name of one of their products, so they were like, let's not call ourselves Facebook Core, let's name ourselves Meta. So, tech giant Meta is preparing, if you don't know, for another massive wave of layoffs, announcing plans to cut roughly 10% of its global workforce. Listen, is this going to be good for them? Will it be terrible for them? It'll be terrible for their image, I can guarantee you that. Let's hear a little bit about it. I have the details for you right now. Go. According to internal memos released just yesterday, Thursday, April 23rd, the move will eliminate approximately 8,000 jobs, with an additional 6,000 open roles being scrapped entirely. These reductions are set to begin on May 20th, and they will touch nearly every corner of the company, Meta, from the social media teams at Facebook and Instagram to the Reality Labs hardware division. I'm guessing that they are going to be hitting hard. They're going to be throwing the hammer down on those Meta things, because the metaverse is in the process of dying, shutting down. So they're like, fuck all of you. We've been wasting all of our money on Mark Zuckerberg's stupid little vision where he can design torso with heads to walk around and interact with each other. Meanwhile, Rec Room had that figured out like years ago. Rec Room, by the way, is getting shut down. God damn it. I miss the paintball games. If you're hearing this and you know exactly what I'm talking about, hop on, okay? Try to get a few more games in before it gets shut down. It's a travesty. No one's going to miss the metaverse the way they will miss Rec Room. If you know, you know. The year of efficiency appears to have evolved into a permanent strategy as CEO Mark Zuckerberg pivots the company's focus and its massive budget towards artificial intelligence. Meta's chief people officer, not police officer, Janelle Gale, informed staff that these difficult trade-offs are necessary to offset the staggering $135 billion investment in AI infrastructure. Obviously, this year alone, Zuckerberg has been vocal about this shift, recently noting that projects that once required large teams are now being handled by far fewer people thanks to AI-assisted coding and automation. I remember I heard about this a couple years back, and I heard someone voice it. I think it was, I'm not gonna give credit just in case I miscredit, but I heard someone say, they read one of Mark Zuckerberg's quotes, and it said, our teams now are going to be freed up to do really cool things. And then they responded, yeah, like starve, which is, I think that's a very great point. All these people are going to go ahead and they're going to not have jobs anymore. They're going to be freed up to really do some creative stuff, like, maybe do some art on their cardboard signs to attract attention outside of the Walmart when they have to beg for money. The latest round of cuts marks a dramatic restructuring of the company's internal identity. In general, traditional engineering titles are reportedly being recast into roles like AI builders and AI pod leads under newly reformed applied AI engineering divisions. Apparently, while Meta continues to let go of thousands of employees, it's simultaneously engaged in a high-priced bidding war for top-tier AI researchers. Jesus Christ. AI is the most, probably the most overhyped thing that I think humanity has gotten into for a while. I think I understand where the hope is in it for a lot of people. They want to provide an AI model that will make their country use it for military technology, all of that. Eventually, they will it'll get redistributed down into all of our American allies. The people, NATO will eventually start using your technology. That's the goal. But what I also think a lot of people are missing the point of here is They think that they are birthing a extraordinary human intelligence. They think that when people are creating these AI bots, and the AI bots are able to blackmail them, the AI bots are able to, do things that are in their interest. People look at these AI bots, and then as a result, do you know what they do and think and look into their hearts and souls and minds and find? They say, I'm going to beat everybody else at manufacturing a vessel for this very ancient spirit of chaos and evil that once talked to Eve in the garden. I'm going to manifest a vessel for this spirit of truth that is beyond what we should be hearing. This AI is the snake providing you the apple of knowledge, and it's not an apple, it's just a fruit. The fruit of knowledge, the forbidden fruit. That is what AI is, and many people don't even realize it. Apple has taken a real big bite out of it. They're already loving it. And I understand that it's more of a business thing at the end of the day. You want people to be using your product first. I understand that. But for the tech industry at large, listen, the move is clear. The AI arms race is being funded by traditional labor. Meta joins the growing list of giants, including Microsoft, Amazon. They're aggressively cutting headcount to fuel the massive capital expenditures that are required for data centers, specialized chips. The companies, they're breaking ground on new AI-optimized facilities in places like Tulsa, Oklahoma. The message in Silicon Valley is really, 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 really clear for the next few years. Social media is being built on silicon, even if that means fewer people are left to manage the platform. So yeah, they're going to have more things getting banned because AI is going to be reviewing all of your shit. I'm surprised if YouTube has me on here in a few years, because AI will be the ones reviewing my scripts and reviewing my episodes before they get published. And now who knows? Who knows if you're even going to be able to hear what I have to say? Listen, the tech world is in a crazy spot right now, and Meta is really just kind of they're flapping around as much as they can to maybe hopefully grab onto some driftwood, and then hopefully that will be the thing that will carry them to shore. That's all that they're hoping for. That's all that every tech company right now is hoping for. They are going to ditch the dead weight, and what they think is dead weight? The millions of people, not millions. I guess it is millions if you account for every person who works in the tech sector, but I meant hundreds of thousands of people are going to be affected by this. They think of those employees as dead weight, and they're like, okay, a number of you are holding us back. Just slice them off. Cut off the cancer.
Facebook and Instagram's parent company says it's cutting 10% of its workforce. Meta says it'll lay off about 8,000 employees starting next month. The company is also canceling plans to fill 6,000 open roles as it plans to invest more on developing artificial intelligence. ABC News contributor and Google Tech Policy Fellow Mike Muse is here for more. Hi, Mike. Are these layoffs a direct result of AI?
They are, in the sense of the way that Meta is reprioritizing its efforts within artificial intelligence. What Meta is doing is reducing the redundancy of positions that they have in order to focus on more efficient ways to create AI products that they would like to deploy. I also think what's really interesting about this is the 6,000 open jobs that are now closed. What that signals to me is that Meta is clear on its priorities, signaling going forward that it will be focused on AI. Diane, the challenge that Meta has and all other big tech companies is the cost of designing, building, researching, and creating artificial intelligence. Part of that research that is needed is the data centers that are needed to...
Notice how the human is completely out of the equation at this point. The human factor, which was like a lot of businesses were concerned with what's our standing in the communities. A lot of businesses, the old model, to some extent, yeah, you might be able to get away with poisoning your river or letting your runoff get into it, but because your company was, you employed 200, 300 people in that town. You know what I mean? You were a big leg of the company, not the company, but the community, quite frankly. A lot of people relied on your factory to be there. there. So, some of them were a little more willing to turn up their nose at like, oh, well, one of our rivers is unusable. We got a lake for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, people were more willing to forgive companies for what they were doing. They were more willing to go along with, my company, we released a lot of weird amounts of lead or whatever into the air because of the smelting process, whatever. I think that a lot of people now, the reason that people are so anti-corporate, so people are so anti-whatever, it's because not only are companies coming into your town, you're having an AI fucking facility built in your backyard or whatever, and now the humming is there, and now you have headaches in the middle of the day because you can always hear the water flowing through the thing to keep the computers cool. You can always hear the hum of the facility, and it's just absolutely, it's aching you. Not only do we have to deal with the pollution atmosphere and also the just negative effects of that building being there, that we would have been able to tolerate that maybe in the old days where people were going to that factory and working all the time. People were willing to tolerate asbestos plants near their towns, in their towns, straight up. So listen, it's about the fact that these AI plants are moving into people's towns and there's no job opportunities there. Unless, of course, you happen to be getting into coding. Are you an AI researcher? Oh, sorry, you live in Bugingaba, I don't know, South Dakota. Well, guess what? We're bringing in one of these big ass 15 football field sized AI data centers. But guess what? We're going to have 14 employees, all of which are AI researchers. Maybe we employ, I don't know, 10 or so, hardware employees to come in a few times every year if we have a down system, whatever. But that's what, a workforce of less than 100 people. I'm trying to tell all of you, this is exactly why people do have an issue with it these days. It's because AI, it's cutting the human element out of this. And you can tell from the way that this guy talks about what the business's atmosphere and their priorities are at their meetings and whatnot. They're going, how do we plan for this AI-driven future? We're not prioritizing the human element anymore. We're not worried about how the community views us. Quite frankly, it actually is better for you if the community doesn't really care that much for you, because more, you know what that means? You have more. In that case, you had to bribe the city council in order to approve your place to be there in the first place. So you don't need the approval of the people. You have the approval of the government. Do you see how this way? Exactly. You all are smart enough to get it.
Have so much energy, or what we call compute, in the tech world to power the research and the development of these tools. That is very capital intensive. And so in order to have that capital, what this is signaling is Mark Zuckerberg is saying the amount of spend that he is willing to do in order to build that infrastructure. And so part of that is the reduction of workforce in order to offset to be more cash intensive for capital infrastructure projects such as data centers.
Microsoft's also looking to cut nearly 9,000 workers and offering buyouts. Is this part of a larger trend?
It is. What's interesting about Microsoft, though, Microsoft is using this as a way of calling it choice for those individuals who have employment and age that adds up to 70 years. And so what they would like to do is those who are able to have freedom and choice in this position to take the buyout, to do the same thing that Meta and other companies are doing, Diane, is to free up capital. Microsoft is one of the leading companies when it comes to cloudware, in terms of cloud and cloud software. A lot of clients that they have are startup companies that are really working on artificial intelligence projects.
Artificial intelligence. That's all you're going to hear about for the next few years. That you're not going to hear about what can we do to bring back the real, the energy to this once booming sector. It's not going to be that. The energy also right now in the tech world. Who is this Apple CEO that we have officially named? Who is this? What is his name? I said it earlier. John Ternus. I was like, Ternus? What? I hate that last name. It really bothers me. It sounds like an exoplanet that we would name. It sounds like ancient Greek. What do we know about him? what details do we have about his life? Let's get a little bit of ABC News filling us in, because the only vibe I've gotten from this man is that he has a bit of this soft boy face. Don't get me wrong. He's not an unattractive person, but he's got a dorky, maybe, is it a Sheldon Cooper energy? I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Apple's next leader doesn't fall far from the tree. The tech giant announcing that John Turnus, the company's current head of hardware, will replace Tim Cook as CEO come September. Cook is leaving the company in a better spot than he received it, as Apple is now the current top seller of smartphones and tablets in the entire world. Technology reporter Mike Dubusky joins me now for more. All right.
It's because I don't want to be a broke ass and own an Android. Nobody wants to be.
You know about John?
Yeah, John Turnus is a guy who's been with Apple for about a quarter century at this point, joining the company in 2001. His first project was on a monitor that Apple was making in the early 2000s, but since then he's really ascended through the ranks, Kira. In 2013, he became the vice president of hardware at that company, overseeing projects that you or I are probably familiar with, things like AirPods, things like certain MacBook computers and iPads as well.
AirPods suck ass. They fit in your ear horribly. They never fit and I know that they're going to just tell me, you have weird ears. You have shitty designers. Because they only design fucking weirdo little AirPod things. They always fall out of anybody's ears that if they're not like Polish or some shit. You have to be like one distinct line of white people in order for these things to fit in your ear properly. That's it. I'm sick of, listen, I'm an Apple person. I use Apple devices. I think that they're preferable to Microsoft in most instances, except for PC. You know, obviously, I prefer that over Mac. I think Mac is a little more, I mean, obviously, the virus risk is huger on a Mac than more so a PC, but we don't have time. We don't have time to get into it. This John Turnus fella, did he know Steve Jobs personally? Very likely, I think so.
In his statement, John Turnus says he's honored at this opportunity, that he's excited for the future, and that he calls Tim Cook, the current CEO, a mentor.
Well, Tim Cook isn't leaving Apple, so let's talk about what he's going to do next.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Tim Cook, according to Apple, is going to transition into an executive chairman role. They say he's basically going to be working on negotiating certain things with lawmakers, policy makers around the world as it applies to Apple.
Good.
You can imagine things like, negotiating tax breaks for factories in certain areas, or different regulatory environments, how to navigate those in various countries around the world. So,
yeah, we need Tim Cook, the lawmaker.
He's been with the company, obviously, since 2011. He says it's been the honor of a lifetime working for Apple. And if you look back at his tenure, Kira, when Tim Cook first took on the role of CEO at Apple, it was a $350 billion company. Today, it's a $4 trillion company.
It's a good 15-year run.
Nothing to sneeze at.
It's a good 15-year run for Tim Cook. And you know what? We're all proud of him. He was a good little representative of the gay community. If you didn't know, I mean, I don't blame you for not knowing. It was a surprise to me when I first found out. But good for him on redefining what it means to be a gay CEO. Folks, I think we should move on, shouldn't we, to the rapid fire section of today's headlines. A lot of things you need to know about to keep your media diet healthy that we can just go ahead and blast through, because I don't have time for like 2 to 3 paragraphs for every single little thing that we could cover. So, at least 17 tornadoes have been reported in the Heartland. If you don't know, rare tornado emergency has been issued by the National Weather Service during the peak of an outbreak on Thursday night as large tornadoes touched down and destroyed homes in Eneld, I think it's Enld, Oklahoma. Weird.
A devastating tornado levels parts of Oklahoma. A particularly dangerous situation tornado warning was issued, telling people to take cover.
Who does this affect? Like 4 people in total?
As the massive stovepipe tornado tore through the city of Enid.
That house is flattened. That house is completely flat. And look how big that tornado is. That is getting bigger and bigger and bigger right now.
The twister destroying several homes. People
Sheesh.
Reportedly trapped.
Look at this.
Vance Air Force Base taking a direct hit. Officials there checking structures for damage. In a nearby field, huge pieces of industrial equipment tossed onto trucks or flipped on its side.
It really gives you perspective of how strong this tornado was.
Emergency responders dodging debris as they race to the scene to help with search and rescue.
It's kind of a nightmare right at the moment. There are injuries. I'm aware of that. Hopefully there's no fatalities.
I've been in many tornadoes in my life. Not in them. I have not been swept up in a tornado in my life, but I have experienced being around many tornadoes in my life. They are one of the funnest experiences. A lot of people, for some reason, they get shaky. They get nervous. They get like, drive away. I kind of get like I want to film it. I'm pretty shitty at filming it because my eyes are just focused on it, and then I normally just end up kind of having my phone off to the side with it. But I love a good, strong weather event. I haven't been in a tornado in a few years. I must admit that. I've been around them, maybe within a few miles of them, but I haven't been around them. It's like where they've been touching down maybe, I don't know, 50 feet or so, like 100 or so feet, you know, these little tiny like funnels that you can catch. Oh my God, it's just really fun, especially when you're out in the flatter lands. That's just what kind of the prime areas for them to start formulating. All right, something a little less fun. A shooting in Edina just left one person dead and prompted the mall, hospital, and several businesses to go into lockdown as authorities searched for those involved. 3 people were ultimately arrested in connection with the shooting. I mean, Edina. I've heard it pronounced both ways from people up here, and I think that they're all equally intoxicated. So Edina, Edina. It's a town in Minnesota that people will likely never visit in their life, so this really doesn't matter to most people. The shooting matters. The pronunciation of the town doesn't.
Suspects in this deadly shooting are in their early 20s. All 3 are currently being held in the Hennepin County Jail for probable cause murder. Here's what we know. This happened yesterday afternoon in the parking lot of an apartment building. This is on 66th Street. That's just across from Southdale Center. Investigators say that building is a transitional home. Witnesses telling Fox 9 they saw several men fighting when one pulled out a gun and opened fire, shooting the victim multiple times before running off. As police searched for the suspects, a SWAT team was called in and several nearby businesses went on lockdown, including the mall and nearby Fairview Southdale Hospital. Now, by the time this was all over, Edina police say that nearly a dozen neighboring police departments helped in this extensive manhunt, which did lead to the arrest of those 3 men just after 4 p.m. The chief says that the victim and the suspects knew each other, so this was not a random act. A friend of the victim telling Fox 9 he is devastated by the loss.
Devastated by the loss. You know what? I think Trump is devastated by the loss of this key supporter. Smooth transition. Tucker Carlson, if you're unfamiliar with him, he is just a jolly, goofy fella. He is, for all intents and purposes, he is a jokester. He is a questioner because, listen, a lot of people will go, he is trying to stoke the fires. A lot of people will go, he is a political, what is it called? He's there to upset things, and then people will go, he uses just asking questions as a way to make people hate each other or to institute racism in people's hearts. I think he asks a lot of questions, and he always says this sincerely. He goes, I'm just trying to understand, and he's always asking because he doesn't really perfectly get someone's perspective or something on it. I think he's sincere. I genuinely believe he doesn't know that much. I'm serious. I take him at his word. However, he apparently knows enough to where he has begun to have a falling out with Trump. This is a key split. Because, listen, he was one of the main promoters of Donald Trump during the campaign days. If you were any bit aware, you remember the massive MAGA hat that he wore at that one time. It was like a Instagram picture or something like that. Let's hear a little bit about this. You don't have to take my word for it.
Tucker Carlson versus Donald Trump just turned nuclear, and it might be the most dramatic political fallout of the year. In a stunning reversal, Tucker Carlson is now apologizing for helping get Trump elected.
And I want to say I'm sorry for misleading people, and it was not intentional.
He says he'll be tormented by the role he may have played in getting the president elected.
It's not enough to say, well, I changed my mind. You and me and millions of people like us are the reason this is happening right now. We'll be tormented. by it for a long time.
This is a huge shift. Carlson wasn't just a supporter. He campaigned for Trump and spent years defending him to millions. So what changed? The breaking point was Iran. Trump launched military action despite years of America First promises to avoid new wars. And Carlson turned on him, calling the conflict not America's war and accusing leaders of dragging the U.S. into it. This isn't just him either. Other major conservative voices like Megyn Kelly have also broken with Trump over Iran, questioning why Americans are dying in a conflict they say isn't in the U.S. interest. The divide has been building for weeks, but then it escalated after Trump posted AI images of himself as Jesus.
Could this be the Antichrist?
And Trump hasn't held back. In a post on Truth Social, he called Carlson and others low IQ and nut jobs,
Hell
even
yeah.
suggesting he should see a psychiatrist. From political allies to open enemies, this feud now exposes a much bigger split inside Trump's own movement.
Well, you know, I love when Trump, listen, I know that many people hate when he goes like low. I love it because it shows that he relies on those childlike insults to some extent, but they're really creative to the point where they sound like something your uncle would say. Like, you should see a psychiatrist. I think you should see a doctor. Like, that is really funny, and I appreciate him for having that type of mouth still. A Commerce Secretary, Lutnick, was pressed on his ties with Epstein. Representative Madeline Dean, a Democrat from Pennsylvania, PA, yes, pressed Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick over his relationship with this convicted sex offender, Jeffrey Epstein. In a hearing before the House Appropriations Committee accusing him of dodging her questions, Lutnick, who appears in the Epstein files, hasn't been accused of any wrongdoing, but his answers don't make him look very great. If you don't believe me, let's hear it right now.
Secretary Lutnick, why did you lie to the New York Post about your relationship with Jeffrey Epstein? Oh, I did hear that. Please don't repeat your gracious offer to speak behind closed doors, not under oath, without the ability of this committee to question you. The American people wants to know, why did you lie about your relationship with Epstein?
The House Oversight Committee and I have agreed
We are
will
the
spend
appropriate
the time
reclaiming my
together.
time. I do not accept that answer. We've heard that one. We are our own committee. We have our own reason to test your credibility and veracity. Please answer the question. Why did you lie to the Post?
I have voluntarily agreed to spend the time and talk about it.
I reclaim the time. Let the record reflect you're dodging the question. The cover-up continues. You know what? In your conversations with the president, is the president concerned about your continued relationship that you had with Mr. Epstein?
Of course not.
As recently as 2018?
Of course not.
I am not going to discuss conversations I have with the president. That is not something I'm going to do.
If you remember in that interview, you said you would never be in the room with him socially, for business, or even philanthropy. President Trump has just fired 3 cabinet secretaries, 3 women, Kristi Noem, Pam Bondi, Lori Chavez-DeRemer. If President Trump has even a shred of concern about accountability for Jeffrey Epstein's enablers, he would fire you too.
Well, he's not a
Beyond
woman.
Epstein, what other financial ties do you have to Jeffrey Epstein?
As I said, I'm going to answer all these
Beyond Adfin, what other financial ties? You're the Commerce Secretary. We have a right to ask this question and get it answered.
Again, I'm not going to spend the budget day discussing something I've set aside time to spend on this topic.
I'm going to
with your
switch
House
topics.
colleagues.
Love you, Howard Lutnick. What do we've got? A Telegraph investigation has uncovered rental listings in London stating that only Muslim tenants would be accepted. Listen, what? Okay. These adverts have been found across social media platforms, and they may breach the Equality Act of 2010, which prohibits discrimination based on religion or race. Okay, listen. If they want to live in a community of people who look like them and who share their customs, share their beliefs and whatnot, maybe they can just do it the old-fashioned way where, listen, I understand that they're new to maybe Western civilization. They're new to Western ideals and normalities. So maybe they're not familiar with this thing that we call prejudice, but practiced quietly. Do you know what we did in the Americas back when we didn't want to give you, like, we didn't want to rent to you, we didn't want to give you a loan to buy a house and whatever, just because we didn't like your race or your color? Like, if you were a white person back in the days and you just didn't want a black family living near you, you know what you used to have to just do back in those days? Say, oh, we're just going with another, we have another option. Thank you so much for thank you so much for coming in for an interview. We have other tenants. And then you can do that, except you do that with the people that you want, Muslims. It's called quiet prejudice. I'm not encouraging you to do it. Obviously, it's illegal. But I'm saying, like, you don't have to put it on the advert.
A Telegraph investigation has found that landlords are illegally advertising for Muslim-only tenants.
Yeah, you can do
Our
that.
investigation has found literally hundreds of listings on social media sites suggesting that only Muslim tenants must apply. This is, of course, in contravention of the Equalities Act 2010, which states that landlords cannot discriminate against tenants according to their religion. The ads were listed on 3 websites, Facebook, Telegram and Gumtree. We approached all 3 companies, but only Facebook got back to us to say that they had taken down a page that featured dozens of Muslim-only adverts. Have a listen to this. This is my colleague trying to get in touch with one of the landlords advertising a Muslim-only property.
I saw on it though it said it's available for a Muslim boy or Muslim girl. I'm not a Muslim. Would I still be able to rent it to them? Is there just anything I could reasonably say or do as a non-Muslim in which you'd rent this to me?
No, I couldn't do that. And yet,
No.
hundreds of these listings continue to be posted on social media, advertising properties throughout the capital.
Folks, as we all know, racism isn't racism as long as it's done to the other race, which I guess the other race now, you know how the other, I guess, apparently back in the day was black people? The other was apparently, but when really, if you portionalize it, other just is relative to whichever society has the most power at that time, whichever community feels the most oppressed, whatever. Like, definitions will shift beyond that. Listen, folks. Prejudice isn't prejudice until it's practiced against the other, and the other is now white people, and it's fun. It's a fun time to be alive, because listen, white people jokes, you can drop white people jokes all the time. You can drop them in public. I've dropped them at work. And you know what happens if you drop a black people joke? People get so nervous, people get shaky, they stare at you all whatever, and they go like, I mean, do you even know one of those? Do you even talk to those things? Like, they don't realize they're being reverse racist. They're like, you should really think about those feelings before you start talking about those things and their whatever they call culture. Like, that's how they'll start talking to you, and it's like, whoa, I thought I was being a little prejudicial. Now I'm hearing you. Folks, we have tragic news. David Wilcock, 53, a prominent UAP researcher, author, disclosure advocate, has reportedly died of suicide on April 20th, 2026, near Nederland, not Netherlands, Nederland, Nederland, Colorado. Boulder County Sheriff's Office deputies responded to a 911 call at 10:44 a.m. on Ridge Road. A man in a mental health crisis outside a residence holding a weapon used it on himself within minutes of contact. He was pronounced dead at the scene. What do we know about this gentleman? What information do we have about him? Well, we have an interview from this gentleman who recently took his life, David Wilcock. Let's hear a teensy bit of his actual words, ladies and gentlemen. I'll put it in the description if you want to see his face.
And I want to say something else. One of the things that I learned from whistleblowers from the cabal itself is that they have to work within something they call the rules. And this is very, very important. So I really want to make sure that this gets into the film. The rules are a body of spiritual principles that they must follow in order to be allowed to exist. Now, what do I mean by allowed to exist? I mean that they are aware that there are benevolent forces that will prevent them from achieving their goals unless we give them permission to enslave us. Now think about that. Well, I didn't give them permission. So why did they put this plan for 3 world wars on display in a book that's hanging there open behind glass in the British Museum Library of London? And those 3 world wars that they're outlining are exactly World War I, World War II, and the war on terrorism. Because the rules state that they have to tell us what they're doing. Therefore, if we allow it to happen, we have consented to tyranny, we have consented to enslavement.
Interesting. Curious. I mean, that's a very usual theme in magic. You actually see this in whether you believe in Wiccanism, paganism, even if you're like a witch who's not like if you think religion's all bullshit or whatever, but you just believe that there's spirits and forces you can command and all that shit, you still have to acknowledge this one institutional fact. It's a common theme in all of these stories that the dark force needs your permission to take over your life, to take over your influence, to take over the aspects of your existence, even take your soul. But it needs your permission. You have to invite these things in. What he's talking about, we've kind of known about for years, but it's humans have rationalized it through the paranormal. What we don't realize is these consciousnesses, these paranormal entities that are around us, that influence us every day, they require your invitation to be let in. Baal, these demons that whether or not you believe they exist or not, they, according to every known text we have on them, require your invitation inwards. Whether or not you want to choose to believe they exist, I choose not to believe they exist. Whether or not you choose to believe they are real or not, I still would rather not invite them in. I'd still never choose to invite them in. I'd still never choose to invite them to influence my life. Pope Leo on same-sex marriage blessings in the Catholic Church. This is a tough one because while people still want to be all, yas, Pope, you're so great. I love how you're taking a stand against Donald Trump or whatever. He still refuses to bless to acknowledge that same-sex unions are within Catholic tradition. He's still a good old Catholic boy. He's going, we can bless same-sex unions, but we're not going to ever allow them to get married within one of our churches. That's ridiculous. Listen, let's hear it from his mouth.
First of all, I think it's very important to understand that the unity or division of the church should not revolve around sexual matters.
This is a great thing to start with. No matter what my answer is, no one leave or question it or say, no, this should not divide us.
We tend to think that when the church is talking about morality, that the only issue of morality is sexual. And in reality, I believe there are much...
Why does he blink like that, like a bunch? He has like this nervous tick where he blinks repeatedly when he gets a question he doesn't like.
Greater and more important issues such as justice, equality, freedom of men and women, freedom of religion, that would all take priority before that particular issue. The Holy See has already spoken to the German bishops. The Holy See has made it clear that we do not agree with the formalized blessing of couples, in this case homosexual couples, as you ask, or couples in irregular situations.
As you ask.
Beyond what was specifically, if you will, allowed for by Pope Francis in saying all people receive blessings. When a priest gives a blessing at the end of Mass, when the Pope gives a blessing at the end of a large celebration like such we had today, there are blessings of all people. Francis's infamous, famous, well-known expression of tutti, tutti, tutti is an expression of the Church's belief that all are welcome, all are invited. All are invited to follow Jesus, and all are invited to look for conversion in their lives.
All are invited to come and be pedophiles and be hidden in Vatican City. And all are invited to come and sexually assault blind children as an excuse, like, oh, we're just going to let this priest who has issues in this one precinct in America, we're going to let him come over here and teach, and that's it. That's all we're going to have him do. That's the real offer of the Catholic Church, ladies and gentlemen. What should we cover next? Alex Cooper her podcast empire, if none of you are aware. She's the host of this brainless podcast, somehow more brainless than this show. Call Her Daddy. It has been grappling with multiple challenges inside of her business, some of them brought about by her husband. Let's hear the tea.
Alex Cooper's podcast network, Unwell, is hitting a rough patch. If you haven't been keeping up with what's going on in Unwell, here's what you need to know. The host of Call Her Daddy, one of the top podcasts in the U.S., is now facing internal complaints, executive turnover, and a growing public feud. Employees have described a tense work environment. Matt Kaplan, Cooper's husband and business partner, who runs day-to-day operations, is accused of yelling at staff and making threats on set. Some crew members have even threatened to walk off the job if it continues. Others filed formal complaints during shoots. This week, the company hosted an all-hands in response to our reporting. Cooper and her husband, Matt, did not attend. Tensions have also spilled into public view. Influencer Alex Earl, who left the network last year, reignited this dispute on TikTok. Cooper responded directly.
Just say what you gotta say about me.
Escalating a back and forth that is now playing out online. Behind the scenes, leadership has left. Multiple senior executives have departed in the past year, and at least 20 employees have also done so. Unwell's biggest challenge might be its podcast growth. Attempts to launch new hit shows haven't really worked, and it raises the question of whether lightning can strike twice.
Her first show wasn't that great, at least in my opinion. Final headline, then we'll cover our last story before I'll release you to your weekend. Congrats on making it to Friday, ladies and gentlemen. The evolution question. Did ancient aliens meddle with humans? That's the question on everybody's mind. Let's check out what these people from Reality Check have to
You're
say.
suggesting that there was deliberate tinkering by non-human intelligence.
It's even deeper than what he suggested, because I started studying, why am I dark skinned? Why does my skin reflect sun a different way than your skin? You're light skin, right? Why are some people more yellow, more red? Why is that? Well, I started looking into genetics, and I found that there's a 2% variance in races. So we're all a human race, but there's a 2% variance that makes me dark, makes you light, makes someone else yellow, red, whatever. And so, but that 2% variance can't happen in 200,000 years.
Exactly.
It would have taken millions of years for it to occur. And scientists and geneticists say they call it an artificial mutation.
And you know the thing I find also, I mean, I'm having fun slagging off orthodox science here, so join me if you like. But I get really annoyed about the arrogance of orthodox science. I think it's been wonderful. It's achieved a lot of technological breakthroughs. But on the theory of evolution, for example, one of the things that fascinates me is we don't have the fossil record to show the transitions between different species. You're suggesting
We don't have a fossil record, I guess, according to that, to promote the idea that we came from different species or there was a transition from different species. I don't know. They're fun. They're talking out of their asses just like me on this show, folks. Speaking of which, I think we should cover our last story. What do we know about the Trump family and their crypto lawsuit? I know. It's tough for them. Listen, I was about to go in on another venture. Me and the Trump brothers had it eyed out. We were going to get another tower in Miami. It was going to be great. But the Trump family's venture into digital currency, it's hit a major roadblock for them this week. Federal class action lawsuit is moving forward against the World Liberty Financial, the crypto platform backed by the president's sons. Let's begin with our next story. Go! The lawsuit, filed on behalf of thousands of investors, alleges that the platform engaged in deceptive marketing practices and failed to properly disclose the high risks associated with its native tokens. Plaintiffs argue that the project leveraged the Trump brand to create a false sense of security. Okay. Your case is already built on nothing. You assume that the Trump name ensures a sense of security? You're the retard here. If I'm the judge, I'm throwing this court if this is my courtroom, I'm throwing this case out of court. Many of whom claim to have lost significant portion of their investing savings when the token's value fluctuated widely following its initial launch, at the heart of the legal battle in question of whether these crypto assets should have been registered with security Securities and Exchange Commission's SEC. The lawsuit contends that the Trump family promoted unregistered securities, bypassing the strict transparency requirements that protect the public, while Donald J. Trump Jr. and Eric Trump have publicly touted that the platform was a way to debank and achieve financial independence from traditional institutions. The legal filing paints a different picture, one of a pump and dump scheme where early insiders allegedly profited at the expense of everyday supporters. The timing of the lawsuit is particularly sensitive as it coincides with the administration's broader push to establish the United States as a crypto capital of the planet. Bad idea. This'll be further than the 2008 crisis. This'll be worse. Defense attorneys for the Trump family have dismissed the claims as politically motivated lawfare, arguing that the disclosures were clearly provided in the platform's terms of service. They maintain that the volatility is simply a nature of the emerging digital market and that the family cannot be held liable for the market-wide downturns. Listen. This is why I don't play the stock markets. This is why I don't play in any of that bullshit. I'm Tim Waltz. I'm good old fashioned. I don't want very much money. I want comfortability. And the case heads towards a critical motion to dismiss hearing next month. Outcome could have massive implications for how the federal government regulates and decentralized finance areas. If the court allows the suit to proceed, it could force the president's inner circle to turn over internal communications and finance records regarding the project's development. For now, the World Liberty Project remains active, but the legal cloud overhead could still cause several major exchanges to pause trading of the token until there is more clarity from the bench. So as of now, me and any of the Trump brothers' future ventures are, I guess, on hold.
It's time now for tonight's social story, and that is, of course, where we post 3 stories on our social media, and you decide.
How is this a social story?
And today's choices: Nepal uptick. I'm certainly suffering from that. Snooki talks cancer update, and Trump family.
That sucks. Sorry, Snooki. That's awful.
You guys chose the Trump family crypto lawsuit. A Chinese crypto mogul is suing a crypto firm co-founded by the president and his family for alleged fraud. Justin's son is accusing the World Liberty Financial of freezing his investment to pressure him into promoting one of its other offerings. And now Eric Trump is calling the suit ridiculous. So joining me for more on this now is ABC News senior White House correspondent Selena Wang. And Selena, the lawsuit alleges that World Liberty Financial targeted Sun in a, quote, fraudulent scheme. What is Sun saying about the Trump family's crypto venture here?
Well, first of all, just to step back for a moment, I mean, this is an extraordinary implosion of this business relationship between crypto billionaire Justin Sun and Trump family's crypto business. I mean, Sun had been a major supporter of World Liberty Financial from the very early days. He was an early backer, but now he is suing the Trump family's flagship crypto venture over allegations of fraud. I want to read to you some specific quotes from the lawsuit. He claims that World Liberty's managers, quote, see the project as a golden opportunity to leverage the Trump brand to profit through fraud. The lawsuit says Sun has invested roughly $45 million into the company, and he's accusing the company of freezing his investments in the firm's digital token to try and, quote, ratchet up pressure on Sun to promote another one of the company's offerings. The lawsuit also alleges World Liberty of, quote, engaging in an illegal scheme to seize property, causing Sun and his companies to incur hundreds of millions of dollars in damages. And I also want to read to you the response that we've heard from World Liberty Financial. They are denying all allegations, and Zach Wilcock, who is a co-founder, posted on social media that the recent lawsuit is a, quote, desperate attempt to deflect attention from Sun's own misconduct. His claims are entirely meritless, and World Liberty looks forward to getting this case thrown out promptly.
Well, and Selena, there's also a major crypto gala this weekend at Trump's club in Florida.
Yeah, all of this comes as there is growing scrutiny on this big gala that is happening this weekend. President Trump is expected to be the host of this event. This is happening in his Mar-a-Lago club in Florida. And hundreds of top holders of Trump's meme coin are expected to convene for what organizers are calling, quote, the most exclusive crypto and business conference in the world. Now, this is an effort to boost interest in President Trump's digital asset. Many of the attendees have already spent millions of dollars and and some of that money flows directly to the Trump family. But the value of this coin has fallen dramatically from its peak. So, for instance, if an investor bought $10,000 worth of this digital asset at its peak, it would now be worth less than $700. Now, Senate Democrats, they are asking for answers on how exactly the president and his family profits from all of these crypto ventures. Critics have called this a brazen pay-for-play opportunities, accusing the president of trying to personally profit by selling access to the presidency. Now, the White House, though, has repeatedly and forcefully denied that any of this creates a conflict of interest.
Folks, I mean, if you want to sell access to yourself when you become the president, that's just, it's a business, and he's a businessman, and you wanted a businessman in the White House, you got one, ladies and gents. Not all of us did, but, the substantial number of us did. What a fun way to end, and what a fun way to send you all into the weekend. I hope you all had a wonderful time listening to this episode. I had a wonderful time collecting these stories for you. I hope you had an even better time listening to them. I have been Ollie Vogt Larson with your brain on air. If you want to be here for next week's episodes, we'll be back at it again Monday through Friday to cover the news that will be present. Who knows, maybe the weekend will give us more to talk about that day. If you'd like to be there for it, subscribe for more. If you liked it, ring the bell for notifications. In the meantime, this has been Ollie Vogt Larson with your brain on air. Thank you so very much for listening. I'll catch you in the next broadcast, and bye-bye.